AI is dominating headlines across finance right now. But if you walk around most advisory firms today, the reality is really different. Most teams are still trying to figure out where AI actually creates real operational leverage and where it's still mostly narrative. That's exactly what we're exploring today. Welcome back to the podcast. My name's Collin McKee. If you're new here, this show is part of Endeavor's AI, where we explore how artificial intelligence and automation are actually being deployed inside real businesses and investment environments. Through these conversations, we focus on one core idea: how intelligent systems help organizations buy back time, reduce operational friction, and make better decisions. Today, I'm joined by Jordan Niefeld. Jordan has nearly 2 decades of experience across tax, investment planning, and wealth advisory. He recently merged his practice into a roughly $2.5 billion multifamily office team at Raymond James. And he works closely with business owners and families navigating complex financial decisions, including tax strategy, investment planning, pre and post liquidity events, things of that nature. So, Jordan, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Colin. I'm excited to jump into this AI topic, which everyone seems to be talking about these days.
Yep, it's all over the place. So maybe a good place to start. Could you give our listeners a quick overview of your practice and the types of clients you typically work with, and from that vantage point, what you're seeing in terms of how technology and AI specifically is being influenced in the financial advisory work?
Yeah, most definitely. So, as someone who was born and raised in Miami, we typically work with all different types of families, investors, specifically business owners, and helping them think through really how to maximize and enhance the value of their business and ensure that they have all of their strategies in place for tax optimization and risk mitigation. So, we spend a lot of time with our families thinking about, again, tax minimization, how they're ensuring that their goals are being met, what their legal and trust planning looks like, so that they can focus on what they want to do with their life and the time that they have with their family. So, as it pertains to technology, and the business owners that we spend a lot of time with, business owners, as you know, are spinning so many different plates all at the same time. Many of them are you know focused on sales, they're focused on marketing, they're focused on branding, they're focused on technology, they're focused on driving both top line and bottom line figures. So there's a lot that they have to manage. My experience has been, and through the conversations that I'm having with our clients, is that they're using AI, again, like many of us are, as a tool in the toolbox to help them automate their workflow and work processes that they have in place to help generate different ideas that they may not have thought about, to learn from different prior successful CEOs and how they've maximized their business value, and so on and so forth. So I think, again, like many of us, we're using AI as a tool to help automate kind of the standard practices and workflows that we all have. And I, will tell you a little bit about how I'm specifically using AI in my practice. So much to learn about it still, but it definitely has helped enhance the number one thing, which is time. Right? We are all strapped for time and want to spend as much time with our clients and customers. And so AI, in my opinion, has helped deliver that for me because, again, in my industry, there's so much regulation and compliance that the tools can help free up some more time so that I can spend more time with my clients and help serve their needs.
Yep, for sure. And from the conversations I'm having, I'm seeing a lot of the same. It's a great tool to compress the time we use in research, in preparation, but then when it comes to making the final decision, that's still the human layer that the professional needs to be a part of. Would you agree? Are you seeing the same?
Absolutely. The human element, the human approval, right? It must be always there because we know the hallucinations or other errors or biases that some of these technology tools have. And at the end of the day, we're dealing with people. So you want to make sure that they not only understand the strategies in place and how it's going to affect their families, but that they feel comfortable, emotionally comfortable, and fully confident in what they're doing. And that is built on relationships and trust with people. Right. And so, we're seeing again a lot of constant movement in AI and AI education. I know at our firm, they're utilizing it in three main cases. One is through kind of the back office supply chain of onboarding and automation and all of that. We have an intranet of sorts at our firm where our professionals can centralize information. And so I'm starting to see more AI tools being utilized there. And then just in the overall platform of how we, review investment strategies, tax strategies, trust and estate strategies, the entire platform is being kind of integrated, if you will, with AI capabilities. And that ultimately is helping from an organizational standpoint, from a tailoring to a specific client standpoint, right? To identifying what a client's needs may be and what solution may be best suited for them. This is what the AI tool is really allowing us to do: regain more time and, again, provide expertise to our clients. I will say for me, one of the ways that I'm using it specifically is in my note taking. Like many of us, right? The note taking has been very powerful because I'm required through compliance and regulatory needs or whatnot to have notes on every conversation that I have with every client. And so what is happening is that especially on the Zooms, I can have a conversation. It will generate the note summary, and then I will review that and confirm that the actual information is true. But that could save me literally 30 minutes after every meeting in just note taking, because I have to get a very specific set of notes so it's those type of things that really go a long way.
Yep. Great. Yeah, it was one of the next questions I was going to have is how is it actually being utilized in your day to day? So you mentioned the client onboarding, which obviously that could take tons of time. And if you kind of walk them through that experience and get that into the right systems instead of needing someone to do all that admin work, who's to tell how much that saved, both from a time and money perspective. Is there anything, and you mentioned note taking, what about like internal workflows? Do you guys automate any of that?
That's still something that we're working through, ensuring that there's, again, like as you said, the standardized workflow. It's only AI is only as good as that workflow process is in place, right? You have to train the models to based off of the workflows that you have. And so for us, whether it's the onboarding experience, right? Ensuring that everything is in proper place and organized and followed, whether it's the note taking, whether it's the generating different ideas for a client. So what do I mean by that? Not specifically investment related, but as it pertains to, suppose there's a client birthday coming up, right? And I want to wow them, right, with a very special message or birthday gift, right? I might be able to now, instead of me just thinking about it and thinking about it. Well, last year I got them a bottle of wine. Last year, the year after that, I got them okay, now I could put a couple ideas. I know the client likes to hike. I know the client likes to, you know, uh, likes the country Italy. I know what 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 ideas could I? Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's something else. Whatever you need that I may have not have thought of. Those are again creative ways to save time
Hmm.
and to make something more impactful. And so I've definitely used it in that regard. Our firm, we platform through our approved system, Copilot. So I've gotten more comfortable with Copilot. Again, as you know, and everybody else, this only works with the comfort level that you use it with, right? And that's just playing with it and spending time with it and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And so when I started, I couldn't tell you what an LLM was, generative. generative AI, machine learning, deep learning. I mean, there's so much there for all of us to kind of understand. But at the end of the day, I think utilizing it as a tool in the toolbox to help us drive more meaningful conversations with clients is such a game changer.
Yep, 100%. And it
Yeah,
seems like there's a new, agentic AI was not even a thing when this all started, and now it's like, what is
exactly.
that? What is that? What does that even mean? How does that affect my life, or how could it? And I understand, especially in an organization as large and as well regulated as Raymond James, they're not just going to throw in some kind of
No.
workflow. It's got to be time and tested.
Yeah, because like you're saying, there's so much privacy, regulatory, right? You have to make sure things you're dealing with PPI information, you're dealing with such sensitive materials sometimes, so that you're absolutely right. I think the financial industry as a whole has to always be very secure with the information and making sure that you're really doing everything and following because of the sensitivity of the information.
But you having done this for so long and being in such a big organization, you can you see down the road, so in this finite resource that's so valuable of time, if they were able to automate some of the big workflow bottlenecks, because I'm sure you're still doing admin things, typing in, certain tasks. Do you think
You
that
know,
would give you back, a good portion of your day?
I wrote down some things. I'll share it with you because these are kind of, what we see from um, the bottleneck, if you will. Uh Understanding um the again, the operations on our, I would say, the operational staff and the team behind the scenes and how they can be more advanced and more time efficient with certain processes that they have in place.
Hmm.
As you can imagine, every industry is different, but that we deal with a ton of paperwork, right? Constant paperwork, constant signatures, constant data inputs, and on and on and on and on. So, part of from a compliance angle and value add was streamlining some of the paperwork to ensure that the work is done in a more time efficient way through the compliance side of things, if that makes sense. So there are tools that we use. Still a lot of human involvement, of course, but being able to craft more comprehensive reviews through the compliance side has been very helpful. As I mentioned before, the advisor prep time for prepping a meeting,
Hmm.
the post meeting,
Right.
right? Ensuring that we are utilizing some of the tools for how to also maybe educate clients on more complex vehicles. There might be certain words and ways that we can deliver a message that is more digestible, if that makes sense. And so there's these, type of bottlenecks that happen just because it takes longer to get things done, right? And now again, utilizing the tools, you're kind of one step closer to getting things done, which again turns into more productivity, which turns into more client satisfaction, which turns into more clients, right? And everyone is growing and winning. That's what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, it's we know this, that AI is not a, catch all, a solution that fixes everything. It's simply a force multiplier that if you have certain strategies and processes and workflows in place, can really maximize what you're trying to do. And so that's been our experience.
Yep. Leverage helps you be a better you, and just focus on what's more important. That's great.
Right. Totally.
So before we continue, just to the audience real quick, if you're enjoying the conversation, I'd encourage you to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps these discussions get out to more viewers, more operators, more investors, and business owners that are working through this shift. All right. So back into it on the topic of enterprise value. You work closely with business owners who often think about liquidity events or long term wealth strategy. So, in AI accelerated economy that we live in today, how should business owners think about increasing the enterprise value of their companies? Like, what signals would tell you if a company is adapting well to technology versus kind of falling behind?
Okay, this is a great question because this, at the end of the day, is what separates those businesses and business owners from what we call best in class businesses that are ultimately selling at you know uh, accelerated multiples, expanded multiples, and those that are more in the middle class in terms of where their business might be. And so our focus is always trying to what we call close that gap so that we can help business owners accelerate the value in their business. So what are the things that we should be talking about? Well, we call them the intangible capital assets. So these are, you can think of the following. One is, the human capital aspect of the business. Who are the people? What does the team look like? Are they maximizing their time and efficiencies in their business, right? What are their workflow processes in place? How are they utilizing AI to, again, enhance the efficiencies in the business. Two is think of the customer. How are we utilizing AI, and how are we thinking about the customer experience, and ensuring that we understand how it feels to be them while they're working with us. So that could be thinking also through the concentration of the customer in our business. So if we have 70% of our revenue is from one or two customers. So that's something we really want to think about, expanding and diversifying, and ultimately, driving that customer satisfaction is so, so important. The third, we talk about the structural components of the business. So these are, things like, what separates us from others, right? What's our secret sauce? Maybe we have a special IP, maybe we have a special, a process in place that separates us from others. How are we protecting that, and how are we using AI to enhance that, right, over time? And finally, the fourth is the social component, which is our brand, our heartbeat. What is it? What is our business look like in the marketplace, and how do we enhance that over time? And so, again, AI can be utilized as a tool in every one of those four, right? The human team, the customer experience, right? The structural component of what we have and how we're protecting what we have and making our special sauce, if you will, and the social component. How are we using AI and as our branding and audience enhancement for our brand. So for me, I think that's where AI can be such a huge tool because those four things are ultimately what drives the extended and enhanced multiples that business owners want to have when they go into the sales process of potentially even selling their business or going through that growth recap. So for me, I think it's understanding that, knowing that, and then being prepared to use AI through that.
Cool. So, I think you kind of answered the next question, which was, where is human judgment essential as opposed to where the tools can help repetitive work? So, I don't know if we need to rehash that. Uh, One topic that we cover almost every one of these podcasts, it's hard to answer. It's almost like a Terminator 2 kind of question. But when you look ahead 3 to 5 years, what do you think will separate advisory firms that thrive, struggle, kind of thinking about what kind of capabilities or mindset are going to matter most in the future?
I think more than anything, because this technology and for all of us is changing the way we live in real time, right? We're actually really feeling the shifts in our behavior and and how we're using the technology and how it's affecting our lives. It would be very difficult to say exactly how and where we're going to be as a society with this technology. 5 years, let alone where we're going to be next year with this stuff. I mean, the
Next level.
hyperscalers are estimated to be spending about 600 billion at capex right in next year, and growing, right, and growing. So a lot of investment, a lot of changes. I think the most important part is understanding and feeling comfortable and utilizing the the technology, and by utilizing it and getting more comfortable with it, that's always the best way. I mean, I still have more to learn, of course, with it. The the AI will eventually, over the next several years, go into a more reasoning type of capability. Being able to do things without us actually having to teach it or train it, which is mind-boggling, right? We're entering a phase of auto driving cars without humans, right? We talking about robots. There's so many things happening, and as we spoke before, I told you about we as a society, what 100 plus years ago, used to have the elevator man in the elevator, and you would say, "Okay, hey, I'm on floor one. I want to go to floor five," and he would ring it, and that job disappeared. We all adjusted with that, right? We go into an elevator, we hit the button, and we move forward, right? But I think where this is different is just how fast the velocity of speed of how this is all coming to us. So, how are we going to adjust to it in real time is going to be the major question, But more than anything, it's just utilizing it, learning about it, getting comfortable with it. It's definitely going to be here to stay. We know the companies are spending and changing the infrastructure landscape of our country with data centers and energy grids, and the massive amounts of investment in this area. So that would be my advice, right? Don't get
Yeah.
uh, don't get scared. Embrace it, and see how it can improve your life on a day-to-day basis.
Right. So what I'm hearing is an open mindset and be AI literate, right?
Think so. More education, right? Podcasts like this are very important because we're talking about what's happening out there, and like you mentioned, it's going to touch every industry, and in every sector. We don't know exactly how or what, right? But the market is digesting news every day about the AI theme, and so we'll see what happens, but it's definitely something that we should embrace because it can bring a lot of value to us and productivity to us as long as it's done with guardrails, right? Like anything else, we have to be mindful of how it's to be used because, as we all know, there are bad actors in the world, and we need to make sure things are being done safely for our society, and in a way that's thoughtful and responsible. And I think that's something that these corporations definitely need to keep in mind as we continue to unleash the power of this technology.
Yep. Regulations. I mean, you're highly regulated, but there's regulations for a reason. So, so if you can give one piece of advice to advisors or business owners not navigating this shift, what would that be? I think you might have kind of touched on it, but
I think more than anything else in life, when new things are happening, right? It's all about, like you said, taking a calm, thoughtful approach and being open minded and learning about what it is, and experimenting with it and testing it, and utilizing it in a way that is at your speed. So that's my advice. My advice is, as many of us are already using it, every year maybe we do a little bit more. We try a different site. Right, we go on. We try multiple sponsors of the technology and see where it comes and where it goes and where it takes us. I think that's the key. It's just being open minded to trying new things with it and not being left behind. Right. And so that's my advice, because ultimately we can use, and I'm seeing it in my business, I mean, using it as a tool to help enhance our specific strategic goals of our work. I mean, even if we don't even know what those strategic goals is, we can use AI to help us think about that. I mean, that it is literally that, tool in our box that can do so much to help us drive the bottom line. So I think I think we're, for those who are not utilizing it in that regard, think about it as such a advisor to you and your business, but also you want to have the personal human advisor and individual there that's going to help guide you and make the decisions that you can trust and rely on for generations to come. And so, it's not a threat. It's something that we're all going to, embrace, and we'll see where we're at over the next couple years. It's a pretty exciting time to be living. That's for sure.
Indeed. Well, Jordan, it's been a great discussion.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you sharing your perspective and your experience.
Thank you so much, Colin. I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to listening to your podcast.
And for
Thank
anyone
you.
listening who wants to connect with Jordan or learn more about his work at Raymond James, we'll be sure to include his information in the description. If you're interested in AI workflows, automation, decision systems that can help your organization operate more efficiently, I encourage you to look at what we're building at endeavorsai.com. And if something in today's conversation resonated with you, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear what your organization is doing to use AI to create leverage. So thanks again, Jordan. Thanks for
Thanks, Colin.
tuning in. And until the next conversation.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.